one of the big statements of the budget was that after all these years, the government is going to sell its stake, its remaining stake, nearly 38%, in National Westminster Bank. Now, it's fair to say that I have some degree of interest in this subject. And we still own about 7 billion quid's worth of Natwest shares, and the idea is the government sells these shares, retail investors, such as people in this room, will buy the shares at a discounted price. But I have a problem with that, and I did put out a tweet shortly afterwards saying, until the Natwest Group provides full disclosure and apologises for their behaviour and their cover-ups, why should any retail customer trust them? So, Mr Hunt, if you want to get about 7 billion quid back for the Treasury to help you balance the books, you better make sure that NatWest, which you at the moment are the major shareholder in, honour their obligations to me, stop the cover-up, stop the lies, start telling the truth. And I tell you what, if they think they're going to go ahead with this share sale and I'm going to sit on the sidelines and say nothing until the wrongs have been righted, you know what? I quite like a fight. And what I did notice was that this was an extraordinarily political budget. To be fair to Hunt, he delivered it pretty well. He did make one or two quite funny jokes, especially at the expense of Angela Rayner over those that own second properties. That really was genuinely quite funny. But political in the sense that, what were the constituencies that he named in the budget? Bromsgrove, Stoke-on-Trent, Dudley North, Whittam, Loughborough, Southend West, Rother Valley, Vale of Clwyd, St Austell and Newquay, North Devon. I could go on. He mentioned 19 constituencies that would benefit from this budget. And guess what? Every single one of them are seats held by Conservatives where they worry they might lose the seats at the next general election. So it was an overtly political budget. But he also made a statement that I thought was really, really interesting. And it was about immigration, and it was about wages and gross domestic product. Listen in.
If we want that growth to lead to higher wages and higher living standards for every family in every corner of the country, it cannot come from unlimited migration. It can only come by building a high-wage, high-skill economy. Not just higher GDP, but higher GDP per head.
And that, from the Chancellor of a Conservative party that have overseen record levels of legal immigration into Britain and where gross domestic product per head is falling. We are getting poorer. Now, the arguments he made are the arguments that I've made publicly for many, many years. And that perhaps is my biggest problem with this budget. In fact, my biggest problem with the last 14 years of these people. They pretend to be one thing when actually they are quite another. Whether tuppence off national insurance, whether making statements like that is enough to have suddenly a surge in the polls for the Conservative Party and a bold step to a 2nd of May general election, I don't know. But folks, I got to tell you, somehow, I really rather doubt it. Now, to the main claim in the budget. There was one really extraordinary statement, and don't forget, 2p was taken off last October. Didn't give them much electoral benefit, so they have reduced the level of national insurance. They've hinted they might get rid of national insurance and make it cleaner and simpler that you pay through income tax. But this statement was the biggest claim of the budget. Hunt said the personal taxes paid by a median earner as a proportion of their income in 2024-25 are the lowest they've been since 1975. Now that is, I would put it to you, Mark Littlewood, Director of Popcorn and former Director of the Institute of Economic Affairs, that is a very big, bold statement. That is saying anybody in this room that is earning an average mean salary is paying less tax than anyone for nearly 50 years. Wow, they must be doing rather well.
Well, Jeremy Hunt seems to think so. Here's the problem, though, Nigel, as you'll know well. If you're listening to an economist or a politician, always read the fine print. And it's the important fine print in what Jeremy Hunt said. I believe he's technically correct. He mentions personal taxes. So he's measuring your national insurance and your income tax contributions. And if you're an average earner, given everything he's done, that might be down a bit. But that's not what the average earner thinks about. They think about their overall take-home pay. So, I don't know, if you smoke tobacco, you'll be paying a lot more in tax in a different fashion. If your council tax is going up, you're paying a lot more in tax in a different fashion. I wouldn't think most people in this room, Nigel, care specifically about what their personal taxes are. They care about their overall tax bill. And the fact there is, unfortunately, I have to confess, after 14 years of Conservative government, it's at its highest since the 1940s. And I think it will be pretty, not much succour to people in this room and in other constituencies like it to be told on a technicality their personal taxes are down when the overall tax burden is up. And that's the fact of the matter.
Yeah, and he sold this idea that we're not going to have the fuel duty escalator put on, that we're not going to have increased alcohol taxes, as somehow you're all better off. But all he was really doing was not putting taxes up.
Yes, exactly. That, unfortunately, is what governments now pat themselves on the back for. You know, great news, your taxes haven't gone up. Well, I think there's a good number of people in this room and elsewhere who actually want to see their taxes go down. And this is also in the context, remember, Nigel, where the economy's flatlining. Look, if we were all getting richer at, I don't know, 5-6% a year, seeing our wages go up every year, seeing prices fall in the shops, well, at that point, you might not struggle too much if your tax bill's another £100. But because there hasn't been growth in the economy, people are really, really feeling that pinch. So we've drifted into becoming a high tax, high spend, heavily regulated, social democratic economy after 14 years of Conservative government. That's quite a disappointment, and I don't think he did enough today to U-turn from that.
And that said by Mark Littlewood, a member of the Conservative Party.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh dear, they really are in trouble, aren't they?
Well, look,
here we are.
They are. I mean,
we're in the red wall.
We've taken some straw polls of this audience. I think, you know, this may be a day late and a dollar short. You know, I do read the opinion polls. The Conservative Party is not popular at all. Is there a road back? I don't know. No. But the only road back is that you need to be honest with people, and you need to start to get government off their back, and you need to start doing the right thing by ordinary hard-working Brits. And it's difficult to discern that thread running through government policy over recent years.
Mark Littlewood, thank you very much indeed.